Hello learners, greetings of the day. I am your trainer Abhishek Ray. Today we are going to learn about the value chain versus the supply chain. The learning objectives. Today we are going to understand from operational flow to strategic contribution. The shift in the perspective from operational flow, which is supply chain, to strategic advantage, that is value chain. So before we start, it becomes very essential for us to understand what is supply chain. See, supply chain, the focus is on physical flow of goods and information from raw material source to the final consumer. Mind you, this is not only restricted to only products, this is also applicable for services. The physical flow of goods and informations from raw material source to final consumer. Its goal is, of course, efficiency, speed, cost reduction in movement and logistics. To understand more, let us take an example. A raw material was supposed to come to your factory today morning, but because of some logistics issues, it will not arrive today, it will arrive tomorrow. That is where your efficiency is reduced. That is where the speed is reduced, because it will have a chain effect in the manufacturing and delivering of the final product. Cost reduction, of course, a focus for supply chain, which we are going to discuss more in the next few minutes. Supply chain, the view is very simple: end-to-end operational pipeline, right from identifying the vendors who will deliver the raw materials, to the manufacturing, to the packaging, and to outbound logistics for distribution to the customer. This is primarily supply chain. Now let's come to this new concept that we are talking about, and that is value chain. Value chain views a company as a set of activities adding value to product, services, leading to competitive advantage. See, in today's world, any product you name, you will have a lot of options. Monopolistic business, I not exactly know, but I can confidently say it hardly exists, because in every kind of product or services, the customer has a multiple option to choose from, and that is where companies have to focus on their value chain. That is where the companies need to focus on increasing their competitive advantage over their competitors, right? So value chain has two activities. One is the primary activity and the other is the support activity. Anything directly related to production and distribution is primary activity, like inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing, service. Let's understand one by one. Inbound logistics of your raw materials. If your raw materials don't come, you cannot produce, you cannot manufacture. That is why it is the primary activity. Operations is basically, in a very small way, if I make you understand, it is the manufacturing part where all the raw materials are converted into the final product. So it is, of course, the primary activity. Outbound logistics. What is the use of making a product and then not sending it out into the market for sales? That is outbound logistics. Marketing, especially in today's digital marketing world, when the customer is bombarded every second with so much of information, so much of options, so much of advertisements, it becomes more and more important for every company to do its marketing in a very fine manner. And that is why marketing becomes a primary activity, because it helps increase awareness of the product and it helps sales. Services. Hardly any product, hardly any service will sustain without a post-sales service, and that is why it also becomes the primary activity. Now let's come to the supporting activities. Supporting activities are those that support the primary activity, which are procurement, technology, human resource, infrastructure. Let's take one example for a better understanding. There is a manufacturing company, and it has a factory, and the manufacturing will happen with the raw materials that come in. But do you think the manufacturing will just happen if there are no manpower over there? And how does the manpower come? The manpower comes from the HR department. The human resource, as the word suggests, is the department responsible for not only hiring, recruiting, but also to see the entire life cycle of the employee or the manpower who are supporting the primary activity, who are actually there in the operations, and that is how HR becomes the supporting activity. Let's also take a quick example which is relevant in today's world. Let's take the same example of a manufacturing company, but this time this company is heavily dependent on automated systems, right? So manpower is less, but automated system is more over there for its production, and that is where technology comes in, because the technological team supports the from back end the normal and the optimum functioning of the automated system of its factory. So now once we have understood what is supply chain and what is value chain, it becomes very important to see what is the strategic link between both of them. Supply chain is a component of value chain. Try to understand. Value chain is the whole part. Supply chain is one of the component. Supply chain management, all the functions that you have come across in module 1 are the key activities within the value chain. Procurement, which we will cover in module 2, is a support activity in value chain. Its strategic goal isn't just to buy cheaply, but to ensure high quality inputs to maximize final margin and create a competitive advantage. We will discuss about margin in the next few minutes. Let us first understand how procurement will help in increasing margin and a competitive advantage by taking a small example of a phone manufacturing company. As I said again, there are so many phone manufacturing companies, so the competition is cutthroat. Now let's say a X phone company decides to launch a new Y model of phone. The technological team decides on the specification of the phone, and now it comes to the procurement team to increase the competitive advantage and margin by sourcing all the components which should provide high quality raw materials that will result in a very high performing phone that the company has planned to launch. And not only quality, the procurement team is also responsible to get those raw materials procured at a good price, and by saving that price they will help in increasing or maximizing the final margin of that phone. Let us now focus, after we have understood supply chain, we have understood value chain, we have understood their strategic link. You have been coming across this word margin a lot, so it's very important to now understand what is margin in a very simple manner. If I make you understand, margin is that amount of money which is left in the end after all the activities have been done for producing and selling that particular product. Okay, in a formula wise, we can understand margin is equal to the value created by, that is the revenue, okay, minus the cost of all value activities. When we talk about all cost of all value activities, that is the cost of manpower, that is the cost of raw materials, that is the cost of manufacturing, that is the cost of logistics, that is the cost of marketing, every cost that is required to push, first to create that product and to push it into the market. And the value created is the price at which that product is sold. So the difference amount that is left over is known as the margin. Be cautious. I will caution you, do not consider margin as profit. Profit for a company is part of margin, but it's not the entire profit that the company will take in, because margin will have certain other components. Margin may have the component of discounts, additional discounts that customers are getting, which are passed over from the company to the customer to enhance sales. Margin will also include some amount of money which the company may decide to pass on to its distributors to again motivate them and to push their product sales. But one thing is for sure, the margin is very important because it is finally the leftover money after all these activities. In conclusion, by controlling the cost and quality of inputs across the entire value chain, procurement moves beyond simply processing purchase orders to become a strategic profit center that directly and powerfully influences the final competitive margin. Now, finally, in the nutshell, we summarize this session. We have learned about SCM is physical flow of goods and services. Value chain is a strategic approach to increase value offered to the customer. I hope this session would be fruitful for you. Let's meet in the next session. Till then, happy learning.